maybe you can tell me something about what your first reaction was when you found out that this book would be available in Dutch.
Well, my first reaction is that this makes complete sense. And the reason why is that over the last 10 years, probably the place that we've been able to bring this work the most has been to that part of the world. So we originally, one of our big clients originally was Unilever, and they have a very big presence in Holland. And then we did a lot of work with Heineken. And then most recently, we've worked with probably the top 8,000, 9,000 at ING. Mm-hmm. So for me, Amsterdam, The Hague, Maastricht, and all these places are like very familiar. I've spent a lot of time in these places, and to have it be translated into Dutch is just great. I'm just so excited.
Yeah, and could you maybe say something about what you think this means for the Dutch-speaking community that the book is there?
Well, let's put this way. I think that I think the culture that is the Dutch culture is very much aligned with what purpose is about, which is one of the reasons why no matter where I go in the world, I end up finding that many of the people that are really excited about this material happen to have a Dutch background. There's something at the core of what it means to be part of that culture that I think is about, there's a beautiful sense of who each of us is as a unique person, but we're also part of a community. And I think that's that combination, I think, really speaks to me a lot about how I experience when I'm in that part of the world, what I feel like is showing up. There's a curiosity as to how do I bring my gift to the world and what does that look like? Yeah. And so I was at the Van Gogh Museum about a year ago, and I've been there many times, and it just, when I went through it, I was just thinking about sort of how did his purpose show up for him, about doing something and being this unique person that created this unique piece of art that no one else valued, but for him was his expression of who he really is. And I said, well, that's what purpose does for all of us. And so when you look around all the different parts of what the Dutch experience is, many of them really do speak to that beautiful magnificence of doing that thing that you know is right in yourself. And so I just feel like it's a wonderful way of bringing this work to this audience that I think can value this in the world, especially in the world we live in today, within the coronavirus and all the pandemic and everything else. Having something that doesn't change, that you can stand on, is important, and purpose is the one thing that doesn't change.
What do you advise people in this situation who don't have a clear vision of what their purpose in life is?
So here's the good news for everyone is when people walk up to you and they say, here's my purpose statement, and you go, wow, I would like one of those. It's like a title to a movie. What matters is the movie itself. And all of us have a movie. Now, much of the work that I get to do and much of the work that we talk about in the book is about unpacking what is each of our movies so that we can see what the title is. But if we look at the current reality we have, for the most part, it's a challenging part of the movie for most of us. But here's the secret. The secret is that for each of us, we have been tested in our life. We have been through very challenging times in our lives. And some of the most challenging experiences in my life were long, long, long before I ever had any sense of what my purpose was. But if I look at how I dug myself out of those challenging situations, if I go back and look at how I did that, what I find is an expression of my purpose. But I don't need the title to see that I have a particular way where when things are challenging, what I do to respond, and how I respond and how I get myself out of that challenging experience is an expression of that. So that's the most important thing, and each of us has that.
What you're saying is that this is the time in which people have the opportunity, the unique opportunity, to find that one thing that's that's in themselves, waiting to be unpacked.
Waiting to be unpacked, absolutely. And
Yeah.
I think even more so look, for any of us who've been around for a while, we've been through, whether it's divorces or businesses going bad or getting fired or having a challenging experience in our childhood where things didn't go the way we wanted to, whatever. We've all been tested. We've all had times where we thought it was going to be over and it wasn't over. And it just got even more complicated. And at some point, what happened is that we realized that nobody was going to save us. No phone call was going to happen. And we actually had to just save ourselves. Now, my experience is that when we do that, purpose is what shows up. Now, in the programs and in the workbook and the book and so forth, we start to help identify what that wording would mean. But I think more important for each individual is that how we stand up and move forward, and how we do that in that moment is worth remembering.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's the movie scene, and that's if I say to you Pulp Fiction, you probably have a scene from the movie you think about, right?
Oh yeah.
And so for me, it's Harvey Keitel as the fixer.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Now, not everybody has that as the scene, but some people do. Other people have different scenes in the movie, right? There's a bunch of crazy scenes in that movie. Now, before the movie, if I'd said Pulp Fiction to you, you would look at me and go, those are two really crazy words. What do they mean?
Mm-hmm.
But now you smile and you have this grin on your face, Marnix, and you probably have a scene. What scene do you pick out?
Well, I have the scene of in which they talk about how they call a cheeseburger or a Big Mac in France. They call it a Royale with cheese.
Exactly. I remember that scene as well.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Bottom line is it's the movie that matters. The title is an access. And the same thing is true with purpose. And what we want to do is, in some sense, if you look at the book is about and the book is a lot of stories of a lot of people, and it's their movies that help them clarify what their purpose was, or the scene from the movie that most for them resonated. And right now, we're all in a particular movie, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And the real question is what are we going to do? And in some sense, the movie that we've been on, there's times in the past where we really have stepped up and dealt with whatever we needed to deal with.
Yeah.
And how we did that is still part of us. And the more we reconnect to that, the more we have access to that part of ourselves. And that is an expression of purpose.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like what you do in the book because you take people back in the early years of their lives, asking them about magical moments, asking them about crucibles in their lives, and doing that gives people the opportunity to really think about what is the movie I'm living in and what can I take from it that could work for me as a purpose.
Exactly. But also it just works for you in this moment.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And so I think, the point here is that each of us has a unique purpose, a unique way that we bring our gift to the world. So Marnix, what do you think your purpose statement is?
Well, my purpose is I'm a companion that goes on an adventure together and make people surrender themselves to life.
Ooh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully this book is a good expression of your purpose then.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So was there any particular story that really touched you from your perspective?
It's the story about the woman with the kite.
Christina Habib, yes.
Exactly.
Her purpose is to help people who are flying kites to build a rocket.
Exactly. I really liked her story because it immediately remembered me of a magical moment I had in my youth. When it comes to going on an adventure, her kite story and the way she describes the encouragement she got from her dad, was something that touched me. Yeah.
So Marnix, what was your story? What's your magical one?
Well, I have several magical moments in my life, but one magical moment that I described for myself reading your book for the first time was the moment on which I find myself on the tennis court where I used to come every day, and I used to come there all by myself. Coming from school, every day I went to this tennis court, playing tennis with people who I just randomly would meet there. Young people, older people, elderly people who play tennis. And this is a magical moment for me because I learned very, very early in my life on this tennis court what it really means to connect with people you don't know. So I experienced very early in my life that when you open up your heart, when you stay curious, when you just connect with people and ask them to do something that is fun, you can really go on an adventure with them and experience something that you didn't imagine was possible before.
See, that's a beautiful story. What I love about your story, Marnix, is that it just, the power of it is that I just notice how your energy jumps as you talk about it. And I'm sitting here on the tennis court with you, thinking of this kid I don't know who's like playing pickup tennis with whoever shows up.
Yeah.
And you know, that's you, right? And so in some sense, you did that with me with the book. I mean, we're strangers, and you say, let's do pick up purpose, right?
Oh, wow. Yeah, you're right.
So seriously, and you know, we start playing. We're like, oh God, this is really cool. It's like we're just having a great time playing this thing, and it's like, okay. So I think that's sort of a key expression. Now, as we listen to this, the beautiful thing is that it's the story that really is so impactful. If you have a purpose statement or whatever, that's interesting, but it's nowhere near as compelling as the story you just told. And I think that the power of what this work is about is it's about these stories that energize us because they really bring that curious kid part of us into the room.
Yeah.
That many of us have stored away for safekeeping, and in the process wondered why we don't feel so energized. And so in some ways, here we are. So the only thing missing is the tennis ball and the tennis racket.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I didn't realize.
Yes, you didn't realize this.
Yeah, it's
okay.
great.
Well,
it's great.
this is what purpose feels like.
Exactly.
I mean, my purpose is to wake you up and have you be home. And what I just did was live my purpose with you.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, this is what it feels like. You know, everybody says, "Well, I want one of those," and I'm like, no, it's like you feel it in here.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And what is great is that you or we together show the world that you can live your purpose in a split second, in a 1 minute, heart to heart, person to person, one-on-one situation. You are already living your purpose. So it's nothing.
Our purposes.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So here
that's
we
great.
are.
Yeah. So this is why people should read the book, I guess.
Especially now. I tell you,